We are studying the second chapter, Calculus of Scalar Fields. Now we shall start the fifth module, Total Derivative. For a long time, we are searching for a satisfactory notion of differentiability. In this module, we shall define total derivative, and with the help of the notion of total derivative, we can define differentiability. First, we state the learning objectives. After studying this module, we shall be able to know what do we mean by total derivative of a scalar field. We shall also show that the total derivative as defined is unique. We shall find the relation between total derivative and vector derivative, and we shall also show that the existence of total derivative implies continuity. First, we give the definition of total derivative. Let A be a subset of Rn, A is an interior point of the set A, and F is a scalar field defined on the set A. We say that the scalar field F is differentiable at the point A if and only if there exists a linear transformation T from Rn to R and a scalar function EAV such that for all suitable V we can express f of A plus V equals f A plus T V plus norm of V times EAV, where EAV tends to 0 as V tends to origin. By suitable V, we mean that A plus V must be an element of A, so that f of A plus V is well defined. The linear transformation T from Rn to R, as we said above, is named total derivative of f at the point A. Thus, here we not only define total derivative, but we also defined differentiability. Later we shall show that it is satisfactory in all possible senses. That is, from this we can find linearity property, Leibniz property, also it implies continuity. Now we show that total derivative is unique, so that for a scalar field at a definite point we can say the total derivative. Let us assume, if possible, we can find two linear transformations T1 and T2 both satisfying the above condition. That is, we can find two scalar functions E1 and E2 such that we can express f of A plus V as f A plus T1 V plus norm V times E1 A V, as well as f A plus T2 V plus norm V times E2 A V, where both E1 A V and E2 A V tends to 0 as V approaches origin. Then we have for non-zero V, T1 V minus T2 V by norm V equal to E2 A V minus E1 A V. We take the limit of both the sides as V tends to origin. Looking at right hand side, we find that as V approaches the null vector, both of them tends to 0. So, the right hand limit exists and it is equals to 0. So, the limit of the left hand side also exists finitely and equals 0. Now, we put V equal to HU, where H is a scalar and U is a non-zero vector in Rn. We can easily check that H tends to 0 is equivalent to V tends to theta. Consequently, T1 V minus T2 V by norm V equals to the ratio T1 HU minus T2 HU by norm HV, which is mod H norm V. We apply the linearity of T1 and T2. So, H comes out from both the quantities. So, we have H by mod H times T1 U minus T2 U by norm U. We consider the limit of these quantities as V tends to origin, and we find that limit of T1 V minus T2 V by norm V as V tends to theta is plus minus T1 u minus T2 u by norm u. Earlier we calculated the limit of the left hand side and we found that it is 0. So, we have T1 u minus T2 u by norm u equal to 0. Since this is true for every non-zero u, we find that for every non-zero u, T1 u must be T2 u. We remember that both T1 and T2 are linear transformations with the same domain, that is Rn. We know any linear transformation carries the 0 vector to the 0 vector. Therefore, T1 theta equals to 0 and which is also equal to T2 theta. That is, for every u in Rn, we find T1 u equal to T2 u, that is T1 equal to T2. This proves the uniqueness of total derivative. This linear transformation T from Rn to R can hence be called the total derivative of f at the point A, and it is usually denoted by the symbols f dash a or df at the point A. Now, we state some observations. First, we notice that the linear map f dash a has its domain Rn, although it may so happen that the domain of the scalar field from which we found f dash a is not the entire Rn, that is, it may be a proper subset of Rn. Second observation, the total derivative f dash a or dfa is a linear transformation defined on Rn. So, for every V in Rn, f dash a operating on V is a real number, as the codomain of f dash a is R. A remark: since A is an interior point of the set A, we can always find an open sphere SAR which lies entirely within the set A. So, we can always select V such that A plus V is in SAR, provided the distance between the points A plus V and A, that is norm of the vector A plus V minus A, that is norm of V less than R, show that f of A plus V is well defined. In case the total derivative f dash a exists, we can write f of A plus V equal to f a plus f dash a operating on V plus norm V EAV, where EAV tends to 0 as V tends to theta. The above equation is called the first order Taylor formula for f of A plus V. The term norm V EAV is called the error term. Now, as V approaches 0, EAV tends to 0. So, therefore, whenever V approaches 0, norm V times EAV approaches 0 faster than norm V. Earlier we defined two terms, first partial derivative, then vector derivative. In this module, we introduced another term, total derivative. Now, we are trying to find out the interrelations between them. The following theorem gives us the relation between total derivative and vector derivative. First, we state the theorem. Let A be a subset of Rn, A is an interior point of the set A and f is a scalar field defined on the set A. We assume that the scalar field f is differentiable at the point A with total derivative t equal to f dash a. Then for every V in Rn, that vector derivative f dash a V exists and T V equal to f dash a operating on V equal to f dash a V. Proof. First, let V equal to the null vector. Since T from Rn to R is a linear transformation and a linear transformation always carries the 0 vector of domain to the 0 vector of codomain, we have T v equal to T theta equal to 0. Also, we have earlier found that f dash a theta equal to 0. So, for v equal to theta, we have T v equal to f dash a v. Now, we consider v non-zero. Since f is differentiable at the point A, the first order Taylor formula gives f of a plus v equal to f a plus T v plus norm v E a v for each v in R n satisfying a plus v in a, that is norm v less than R for some suitable R. Here v tends to theta implies E a v tends to 0. Now, we are going to find out the relation between the total derivative and vector derivative. In the total derivative, we have some value for f of a plus v minus f a. If we recall the definition of vector derivative, it consisted of some terms like f of a plus h u minus f a. In the above relation, we put v equal to h y, where h is a real number and y is a non-zero vector from R n. Clearly, h tends to 0 if and only if v tends to the null vector. Then norm of v equal to norm of h y, that is mod h norm y less than R. Now, from the first order Taylor formula, we find f of a plus v minus f a equal to T v plus norm v E a v. We replace v by h y and apply the linearity property of t. So, we find f of a plus h y minus f a equal to h times t y plus mod h norm y E a h y. We divide both the sides by h, assuming h is non-zero. We find f of a plus h y minus f a by h equal to t y plus mod h by h norm y E a h y. We take the limit of both the sides as h tends to 0. So, the left hand side we are going to find. Let us look at the right hand side. The first term T y, it is independent of h. We look at the second part. As h tends to 0, mod h by h goes to plus minus 1, norm y is independent of h and E a h y goes to 0. So, the right hand side goes to T y plus minus norm y times 0 as h tends to 0. That is, the value of the limit is T y. So, the left hand side exists, that is f dash a y equals to T y. We write v in place of y and we find T v equal to f dash a operating on v, that is f dash a v. This completes the proof. Now, a remark. From the above result, it is clear that for every v in R n, f dash a v is unique and hence f dash a operating on v also. This shows that the linear transformation f dash a from R n to R is unique. So, we have an alternative method to prove the uniqueness of this linear transformation. Actually, f dash a depends on the choice of the scalar field f and the point A from the domain of f. The following theorem gives us the relation between the total derivative of a scalar field and its partial derivatives. First, we state the theorem. Let A be a subset of R n, A is an interior point of the set A and f is a scalar field defined on the set A. We assume that the scalar field f is differentiable at the point A with total derivative t. We consider any vector v in R n whose components are v 1, v 2 up to v n Then we have f dash a operating on V equals with summation V k del f del x k operating on A, where a k runs over all integers starting from 1 up to n. We give a proof. We have already proved that for every vector V in Rn, f dash a operating on V equals with the vector derivative f dash a V. Let us consider the standard frame E1, E2 up to En of Rn, where Ei denotes the ith unit coordinate vector. That is, Ei denotes the vector which has ith component 1 and all other 0. We are trying to find a relation for f dash a operating on V. First, we write down V in its expanded form, that is, we express V as a linear combination of the basis vectors E1, E2 up to En, then apply the linearity property of the linear transformation f dash a. So, we find f dash a V equals to V1 f dash a E1 plus similar terms up to Vn f dash a operating on En. It equals with V1 f dash a E1 plus V2 f dash a E2 up to Vn f dash a En. Now, we know for any I f dash a ei is nothing but del f del x I at the point A. So, we have f dash a operating on V equals with V1 del f del x1 at the point A plus V2 del f del x2 at the point A, and this sum continued up to Vn del f del xn at the point A. This completes the proof. We can express the above result in another form. F dash a operating on V equals with inner product of two vectors in Rn. The first one is del f del x1 at A up to del f del xn at A, and the second one is V1 up to Vn. Now, we want to get a clear picture of the above. We know one nice method to study a linear transformation is to look at its matrix representation with respect to standard frames. For the time being, let us restrict ourselves to scalar fields defined on subsets of R2. Let A be a subset of R2. AB is an interior point of the set A, and F is a scalar field whose domain is the set A. We choose Hk from R2 such that A plus H B plus K is also a member of A, that is, we can define F at the point A plus H B plus K. If F is differentiable at the point A B, then we can find a linear transformation T from R2 to R such that f of A plus H B plus K minus f A B equals to T H K plus norm of H K E A B H K, where H K tends to the origin implies E A B H K tends to 0. We note that the norm of the vector H K equal to the non-negative square root of H square plus K square. As H k approaches origin, it is never equal to the origin. So, norm of H k is always positive. Since T from R2 to R is a linear transformation with respect to the standard frames of R2 and R, for R2 it is the doubleton set 1 0 and 0 1, and for R it is the singleton set 1. We can express T as a 1 by 2 real matrix, let it be alpha beta. Then we can express T equal to the matrix product alpha beta and H k transpose, and that equals with the real number alpha H plus beta k. We put in particular k equal to 0. Then we observe that f of A plus H b minus f A b equals to T H0 plus norm of H0 EAB H0, and that is alpha H plus mod H EAB H0. So, we divide both the sides by H and we find that f of a plus HB minus f AB by H equals with alpha mod H by H EAB H0. We take the limit of both the sides as H tends to 0. In the right hand side, alpha is independent of H, and the second part goes to plus minus 0 as mod H by H goes to plus minus 1 and E tends to 0. So, we find del F del x at the point A B is alpha. Similarly, we can check beta equal to del F del y at the point A B. Here we use the result that differentiability of f at the point A B implies the existence of all vector derivatives at A B. Practically, we considered vector derivatives with respect to 1 0 and 0 1. We recall that partial derivatives are vector derivatives with respect to the unit coordinate vectors. From the above, we can rephrase the definition of differentiability in a more workable manner. Let A be a subset of R2, AB is an interior point of the set A, and F is a scalar field defined on the set A. Then F is differentiable at the point AB if and only if for every Hk in R2 such that A plus H B plus k is in A, we can express the increment of f, that is f of A plus H B plus k minus f A B equals to alpha H plus beta k plus norm of H k E A B H k, where alpha and beta are real numbers independent of H and k, and H k tends to 0 0 implies E A B H k tends to 0, and we have already shown that here alpha equals del F del x at the point A B and beta is del F del y at the point A B. The above result can be analogously extended for scalar fields on R n. Here, the matrix of corresponding to the linear transformation was 1 by 2. In that case, it will be 1 by n. From this, we can easily assume that if f from A to R is a scalar field where A is a subset of R n and f is differentiable at a point A which is interior to the set A, then the matrix representation of f dash A will be del F del x 1 A, del F del x 2 A up to del F del x n A. We shall denote the nabla f A equal to del F del x 1 A, del F del x 2 A up to del F del x n A. In the first line, we considered is that as a matrix, and whenever we are writing nabla f A, we consider is as a vector in R n. That is why in the second line we put commas. Using this notation, we can rewrite the first order Taylor formula as follows: f of A plus V minus f A equal to f dash A operating on V plus norm V E A V, which equals with inner product nabla f A V plus norm V E A V, where E A V tends to 0 as V tends to theta. For a long time, we were searching for a suitable notion for differentiability. All our attempts failed because they did not guarantee continuity of the scalar field at that point. This time, we define differentiability. So, it is our duty to show that it implies continuity. First, we state a theorem: for a scalar field, differentiability implies continuity. Now, we prove the result. Let A be a subset of R n, A is an interior point of the set A, and F, a scalar field defined on the set A, is differentiable at the point A. By definition, there exists a linear transformation T from R n to R such that for all V in R n, such that A plus V is well defined, we can write f of A plus V equals f A plus T V plus norm V E A V, where V tends to theta implies E A V tends to 0. We are to prove that f is continuous at the point A. We have seen that we can express f of A plus V equal to f A plus inner product nabla f A V plus norm V E A V, where nabla f A equals to the vector del f del x 1 A, del f del x 2 A up to del f del x n A. Now, modulus of f of A plus V minus f A is always non-negative. Also, it equals with modulus of inner product nabla f A V plus norm V E A V. We apply triangle inequality so that these two terms become separated. Now, we apply Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. So, we find that mod of f of A plus V minus f A less or equal to norm of nabla f A times norm of V plus norm V E A V. Now, if we look at the term mod of A plus V minus f A, that is bounded below by 0 and bounded above the quantity we stated just. Now, we consider the limit of mod f of A plus V minus f A as V approaches 0. As V approaches the 0 vector, norm V tends to 0. Now, norm of nabla f A is independent of V, and as V approaches the 0 vector, E A V tends to 0. So, the right hand side of the above relation tends to 0 as V tends to the null vector. So, we have limit of f of A plus V as V approaches the null vector is f A. In other words, f is continuous at the point A. We now give another necessary and sufficient condition for differentiability. We state a theorem. Let A be a subset of R n, A is an interior point of the set A and f is a scalar field defined on the set A. Then f is differentiable at the point A if and only if we can find a linear transformation T from R n to R such that limit of the ratio modulus f of A plus V minus f A minus T V divided by norm V as V approaches the 0 vector is 0. Let us start the proof. First, we assume that f is differentiable at the point A. Then there exists a linear transformation u from R n to R such that for all suitable V in R n we can write the increment f of A plus V minus f A as u operating on V plus norm V E A V, where V tends to theta implies E A V tends to 0. From this we can write the ratio modulus of f of A plus V minus f A minus u V by norm V equals to mod of E A V. We take the limit of both the sides at V tends to theta. Obviously, the right hand side goes to 0. Therefore, we have limit of V tending to theta mod f of A plus V minus f A minus u V by norm V is 0. Thus, u equal to t is the required linear transformation. Now, the converse part. We assume that there exists a linear transformation t from Rn to R such that limit of modulus of f of a plus v minus f a minus t v by norm v as v approaches the null vector is 0. We use the epsilon delta definition of limit. So, corresponding to arbitrary positive epsilon, we can find a positive delta such that whenever norm v is less than delta, but greater than 0, we find mod of f of a plus v minus f a minus t v less than norm v times epsilon. That is, the quantity f of a plus v minus f a minus t v is bounded below by minus epsilon times norm v and bounded above by epsilon times norm v. Let EAV be defined by the ratio f of a plus v minus f a minus t v by norm v for all v in some deleted neighborhood of the origin. Then we can easily find that EAV is bounded by the quantities minus epsilon and epsilon. Now, epsilon is an arbitrary positive quantity. If we let epsilon tends to 0 plus, we can easily find EAV tends to 0. Thus, we can express f of a plus v minus f a equals t v plus norm v EAV, where t from Rn to R is a linear transformation and v tends to theta implies mod EAV tends to 0. Hence, f is differentiable at the point A. Now, we give some examples where we are using the definition of differentiability. To check the differentiability of a scalar field, an intelligent step would be first to try to find what would be my linear transformation. This will be clear from these examples. Let f be a scalar field defined on Rn by f x equal to c for every x in A, where c is a real constant. If we are considering single variable calculus, we know f is differentiable at every point of the set A and its derivative would be 0. So, we should think about a linear transformation which would carry all the points of the set A to 0. Let A be an interior point of the set A and V in Rn so selected that A plus V is a member of A. Then we can express f of a plus b minus f a is 0. So, we write down as T v plus norm v E a v, where t from Rn to Rn is the 0 linear transformation, that is, it is defined by T x equal to 0 for every x in Rn. To balance, we take E a v equal to 0 for each suitable v. This shows that f is differentiable at the point A with f dash a equal to t, that is the 0 scalar field on Rn. Now, we consider another example. Let A be a subset of Rn, f is a scalar field defined on A such that f is the restriction of a linear transformation T to the set A. Let A be an interior point of the set A and V from Rn be so chosen that A plus V is in A. Now, the increment f of A plus V minus f A, we can write this as f b using the linearity property of f. So, this equals with T v plus norm v E a v, where T is the linear transformation such that restriction of T over A is f. To balance, we take E a v equal to 0. Thus, f is differentiable at the point A with f dash a equal to t. So, in this module, we first defined total derivative of a scalar field. More important to that we defined differentiability of a scalar field and also proved that it implies continuity.